This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Hello.
Hola.
Bonjour.
Konnichiwa.
Ni hao.
Ciao.
안녕하세요.
Mabuhay.
Welcome to Washington State.
Explore the sights. Discover new things.
Appreciate the arts, music, and food.
Travel to new places.
Meet the people.
Make new friends.
In other words,
come
home with us.
Come home with us.
This is INCRadio Seattle, Washington.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone tuning in. My name is Sister Marie, and you are watching INCRadio Seattle. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very exciting show today. Our title is Stay Tuned. This is our musical instruments show, so I'm very happy for you to tune in. If you yourself play any instruments and if you don't and you wish you could, let us know in the comment section below. We love to read our comments, and we'd love to know what talent we have in our district and everyone around the world. Remember, you can like today's show, you can share the broadcast, and you can subscribe to the channel. So make sure to tune in. And if you want to watch the show later, you could always watch it back or send it to your friends. We always appreciate that so much. And also let us know where you are tuning in from in the comment section below. If you are from the District of Washington, also let us know what locale you are from, and you can participate in our hashtag challenge. All you have to do is type in hashtag followed by your local congregation's name. For example, I'm from the local congregation of Seattle, so I'll leave hashtag Seattle. Let us know and we'll read those comments aloud. Today we actually have two guests, so it's very exciting. So we get to learn so much about what they do and their talents. So I'm gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves and let us know what local you're from as well. Let's go ahead and start with Brother Mark.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brother Mark. I'm from the local congregation of Tacoma. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to speak to all of you about this topic that I'm truly very passionate about. Thank you, Paul.
Love. We're so excited to have you on today's show. Thank you, Brother Mark. And then next up we have...
Hello, everyone. I'm Brother Ilario from the local of Des Moines.
Yes, thank you so much both for joining us. So, like I mentioned earlier, our topic is stay tuned, or what musical instruments that you both play. So, I'd also first love to know what instruments you both play.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go first then. I can play a few instruments. I think my main one is really guitar, but I've also played a bit of bass, a bit of drums. I played violin when I was in high school as well, and some odd instruments on top of that. Like I also played the banjo one time, and I brought a lyre to an activity. So quite a few instruments, but guitar really is the main one for me.
Very cool. Super cool. Brother Ilario, how about you?
Yeah, just like Brother Mark, my main instrument is the guitar. So I don't really play any other instrument, but I really wanted to try playing the keyboard since I want to also be an organist trainee.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. For myself, you guys are much more talented than I am. I think in the third grade, I learned how to play the recorder, and then I'm good at memorizing things. So if I'm near a piano or a guitar or a uke, if you teach me a couple things, I'll remember for that day, and then after that, I forget it. But I wish I could. So we have a couple of questions for you both. Also in the chat, if anyone's tuning in, let us know if you also have questions for these two talented brothers. We make it an open conversation, so feel free to join in. So for the both of you, what made you, since you're both your main instrument is the guitar, what made you interested in playing the guitar, and maybe what age did you start at? We can start with you, Brother Mark.
Yeah, so I started playing guitar when I was 13, and I think a lot of people kind of my age in the millennial generation might be able to relate to this, but kind of what got me into guitar was Guitar Hero and Rock Band. So a lot of those video games really got me into playing the instrument because I played the video games, I got pretty good at them. And then I thought, well, let me see if this translates to the real thing. And the sad reality is that it didn't translate very well at all. So learning was still a struggle, but Rock Band and Guitar Hero definitely were kind of those initial inspirations for me in picking up the guitar at 13 years old.
Nice. And then were you self-taught or did you get lessons? How did you go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So initially I took lessons in the beginning, but I found that was a bit challenging just because of for cost reasons. And there was a lot of great resources on the internet that were available for free, especially with the guitar. It's definitely one of those instruments that's a bit more forgiving and easier to teach yourself. So then I just kind of slowly transitioned to being more self-taught after maybe a few months of guitar lessons in the beginning.
Nice. You had that like strong foundation and then to build off of. Very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Brother Ilario? What age did you start and what made you interested in playing the guitar?
Oh, I think I started like 12 or 13 years old, and I got interested because my dad, my brother, my sister, they all played the guitar,
Oh, really?
and I also wanted to be like them. But it was kind of hard at first, and when I was playing, my fingers they got hurt, and so I stopped for a couple of years. I just started again when I was 14 years old, and
no.
from there, yeah, it was from there I started doing more techniques that could amplify my range, and that really helped me to get more interested in doing the guitar and not giving up again.
Mm-hmm. And we also Createch, if you have the our materials, we can go ahead and play some of those pictures on screen for our viewers. Brother Ilario, you kind of mentioned that struggle. Was that your biggest struggle that you had to overcome learning playing the guitar, or are there anything else that you had to figure out?
Yeah, another other than my fingers hurting, another thing was that guitar for me seemed too difficult, and that really brought me down, and my how do you say it? My will to do the guitar dropped down as well since I couldn't do it really good.
What made you inspired you to come back to wanting to play again?
Oh, it was because I lived with someone that had a guitar with them, and I borrowed it from them.
Mm-hmm.
When I played it, it felt like this was something that I wanted to do as a hobby or something that I'd be interested in doing.
That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to get back into it. Let's see. And then also on the screen here, who is this that won that award?
Oh, that's me, Paul. So that was the International EVM Awards. I
Tell us about
was
it.
involved with I was involved with one of the INCinema projects back when I was in the District of New York, and they had asked me to create the musical score for our INCinema project, and then we won for the regionals, best musical score, and then we advanced to the International EVM Awards. So for the year of 2021, the musical score that I had composed for that INCinema project was best of every district in the world.
Oh wow!
So it was a very humbling experience, and definitely a great great time and a great way to really utilize my talent to bring the glory back to our Almighty God in that project.
Yes, and shout out to the District of New York. What local were you from when you were there?
The local of Belmore.
Cool. What brought you? So I'm a little curious now. Are you from New York, that district, and then what brought you to Washington?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was born and raised in the District of New York. I was actually in Washington for a year before in the local congregation of Tacoma because I was doing residency as a pharmacist. And then after I finished residency, I moved back to New York, went on a job search, and then ended up getting a job back here in Washington again. So now I'm back, but happy to be back and to see all the brethren that I formed very close connections with when I was here for that first year.
I love that. Very East Coast to West Coast, back to East Coast, back to West Coast.
A lot about
how would you say, even being in those true pandemic years, were you able to fully be able to more immerse yourself into the music and being able to create?
Yeah. So definitely during the pandemic years, because a lot of my time was spent at home and indoors, I had downloaded a lot of music composition type software and music arranging software, and that was pretty much what allowed me to get involved with the INCinema project. I'm also part of the INC Music department's orchestration team, so I do have a number of projects that are uploaded to the INC Music channel because I use my computer to create a lot of those orchestrations. So, being at home and having a lot of that extra time that I didn't have to dedicate to traveling, and necessarily having to travel to school or to work made it possible for me to really get immersed in the music, as you had mentioned, Sister Marie.
Yeah, it's cool how opportunities can arise that way. Very awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Brother Ilario, I'd also love to know, is there a type of genre of music that you like to play the most? Is it your favorite type of music to listen to?
Oh, okay. I don't have a really specific type of music that I like to play, but there's this artist, Leve. I really like her songs, and I love playing them. Yeah. but they're very hard to learn. And so it takes me a couple of weeks or even months to learn a single song.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like sometimes as a listener, I think like something might not sound as maybe not complicated because it sounds so simple and beautiful, but once you like actually learn to play, it's a different story.
It is.
And do you usually like to play for just yourself, or do you ever play for audiences or anything like that?
I don't really like to play for audiences, so it's just me by myself, and not even small groups. It's just me because I really get anxious if I have to perform in front of people.
Do you ever plan to one day perform for anyone, or you just like it as a hobby for yourself?
Maybe for a church activity, I'd be down to do it. Yeah.
One day. We'll see you in the future playing on the main stage. I love. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read some of our comments here. Carelli says, "Happy Saturday and happy viewing to all the brethren around the world. Greetings from Washington State." Hello, Carelli. And then we also have Kakanda says, "I love to sing, but no talent in any instrument. Hashtag Tacoma." That's true. Your voice is very much a instrument that you have to train to use. I always forget that, but I would love to hear you sing. Mario says, "Good morning here in the Philippines and enjoy watching here on INC Radio Seattle, Washington. Greetings from the local of Brixtonville district of Caloocan North." Hello, Paul. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know what time it is there. We're so happy for you to join us today. Priyanka says, "I used to play the violin back in 8th grade and also the piano." Hashtag Marysville. That's cool. Every time I hear a violinist, I think that's one of like the coolest instruments. One of my favorite sounds. But RJ says, "I wish I knew how to play the drums, and I also think it'd be cool to learn how to DJ." Hashtag Spokane. Very cool. Drummers are so talented in the way that they're able to keep a beat and play at the same time. I think that is very crazy. And then Sister Amy says, "I don't play any instruments, but learned basic chords on ukulele in elementary school." Hashtag Federal Way. Love that. I feel like a lot of people dabble in the uke at some point in their lives. I know like one song. And then also for the both of you, do you ever try to sing and play at the same time? Because I feel like that's like a whole nother ball game of trying to do two different things at once, the multitasking of it all.
Yeah, it's definitely extremely challenging. I've tried it. I'm not really much of a, I don't really feel or see myself as much of a singer outside of choir, but I definitely dabbled in it a little bit. But I definitely agree, Sister Marie, it's quite challenging because there's just a lot, you have to juggle in your mind between trying to sing and play at the same time, for sure.
Yeah, and then also I wanted to ask you, is there a favorite genre of music that you like to play? And also, does it differ from what you usually like listen to? Brother Mark?
Yeah, so I definitely like to play rock music. Just anything that would kind of pose a different, unique challenges on the guitar, especially. And that does differ a little bit because I feel like when it comes to my listening habits, a lot of it is just kind of pop music on the radio, which is a bit different because there isn't as much guitar in a lot of that pop music because a lot of it ends up being kind of synth sounding. But I still do like to listen to a lot of the music that I do end up playing. I just feel like the music I like playing is a little more complex and more guitar focused.
Interesting. I think you also mentioned in the instruments you play, you mentioned guitar and bass, correct?
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit for our viewers and myself what the difference is and like sound-wise, and then maybe also learning? Is there a different learning curve between the two?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, Sister Marie. So even though a lot of people tend to think that the bass and the guitar are very similar, or that the bass, I think the common misconception is that the bass is just the guitar but easier, and that's very far from the truth. But kind of some of the differences include the fact that with guitar, when you're backing up a singer, often you'll be playing chords to accompany them, whereas a bass will play more single notes, a lot more single note lines, and often that can actually be more challenging than just strumming a few chords because a really strong bassist is able to not only play those strong kind of melodic bass lines, but they're also kind of doubling the role of the drummer and that they're locking the band together and keeping that beat. So, being able to play a good groove on the bass is definitely something that sets it apart from the guitar. Not just the fact that it plays single notes and as opposed to chords on the guitar. And the bass does have fewer strings, so it has 4 strings, whereas the guitar has 6. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily make it easier to play. It can definitely be challenging, especially at a very high level. Bassists are really, really amazing instrumentalists. And I think something else, too, is that with the guitar, typically you'll use a pick. Kind of most of the time when you're accompanying a singer, especially when you're strumming chords, typically you use a pick. Whereas with the bass, it's mainly plucking. because it produces more of a bass-like tone when you use your fingers as opposed to using a pick, even though you can use a pick technically on the bass, but it produces a different sound. And I personally think that the bass sounds better when you're plucking it with your fingers.
That's cool to learn. Thank you for sharing that. Is there a certain type of music that we're more likely to hear the sound of a bass in over another type of genre of music?
Yeah, I think in funk you can definitely hear the bass a lot more prominently than you would hear the guitar, because with funk there's a technique on the bass called slap bass that is featured very prominently in funk, and when you listen to that, it's very distinct, and it really cuts through the band when you hear a bassist use slap bass, because it ends up producing more of a percussive sound where they're again almost kind of doubling what the drummer is playing, but on the bass instead.
Nice. And then we have a comment here that also kind of segues to one of our next questions that I have for you both. Is Sir Irene says, I would like to play the guitar, but the guitar doesn't like me. So I'd love to know from the both of you, what advice would you give to those wanting to learn how to play the guitar? For the Ilario, you can start first.
One advice that I'd give is to start small, to start with easy stuff. I wouldn't jump right into doing chords, especially bar chords. Bar chords are really hard. For me, even now, they're kind of hard to do. So what I did to start was playing single notes and learn how they sound. Songs that are easy, like Happy Birthday, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars. And from there, you build up the experience and the knowledge to do stuff that is more complicated and harder. And I feel like there's a point where you can learn from yourself, or like by yourself using tutorials from YouTube or anywhere. So yeah, an advice is to start small.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. And what about you, Brother Mark? What advice would you give to those wanting to learn how to play the guitar?
I definitely want to second what Brother Ilario had mentioned. So just starting with single notes in the beginning, just trying not to try to crawl before you walk and then walk before you run, I think is really good advice, because I think a lot of us, especially me when I started off, because I had a very similar story to Ilario where I almost gave up after about a month of trying. But with the guitar, it has a very steep learning curve, and there's a bit of a hump right at the beginning. So being able to start small and celebrate those small victories so that you don't get discouraged, and really sticking with it and trusting the process, I think are really great ways to stay motivated despite how challenging it might seem in the beginning. Because once you do get past that initial hump at around the 1 or 2 month mark, the guitar ends up being actually really easy. It's just kind of in the beginning where it's really challenging. So, just stick with it, stay committed, and really tell yourself that you can do it, because you can. The guitar is a really great instrument. Anyone can play the guitar. And then once you get past that initial hump, it becomes much better, and you'll love it. It's a really great hobby.
That's cool. Would you say like being self-taught and maybe like using resources such as YouTube is helpful? Like, is that a tool you would recommend to use?
100%. I definitely recommend using tools like YouTube and the internet, because I don't think, and as much as I felt that I benefited from lessons, I feel like they are quite pricey. It's very hard to budget getting private lessons these days, unfortunately. So the internet ends up being a really great resource that's available to you, because you have your phone, you have your laptop, you have tablets. It's just really easy to look up, a tutorial on YouTube or a tablature on the internet, just something to help you get started so you can start learning. If you do have the resources for, private lessons, I strongly encourage them, but I don't say that I don't believe, at least for the guitar, that private lessons are necessarily something that is required when you're starting off.
Definitely. And we have a comment here that I'm more curious about now. Mia says, Brother Mark played the guitar with his teeth in the INC concert, right? # Tacoma. What does this mean? Is there a story behind this?
Yes. So there's a story. During the last in concert, during my first year in Washington State, that district activity was my very last one. Before I went back home to New York, not knowing whether or not I would be coming back to Washington State. So I kind of wanted to make that performance, something really special and memorable for people. So I ended up playing a guitar solo on the finale, because I ended up arranging the finale. I wanted it to be more kind of rock sounding. And with that solo, I wanted it to be truly, like I said, memorable. So I started playing the solo with my teeth on stage. And I'm glad to hear that people do remember it. So I guess that it served its purpose.
We need an encore of that at the next in concert. That's so interesting. Or maybe someone send me the link to this if it's live anyway. Thank you for sharing that story. Coming down to some of our last questions here. Brother Lario, I'd love to know if there are any other instruments that you were curious about wanting to play ever. What would that be for you? It could be something wild or maybe something like you actually would want to play.
Yeah, another instrument that I would like to play is the bass because it's so cool. It doesn't give the same vibes as a guitarist. Like a bass and a guitarist, they're two different people. And I think that bassists are really more cooler than guitars. And their sounds is more, how do you say it? They lead the band, in my opinion. Without a good bass, a song cannot be as good as it can be. Like it's not reaching its full potential without a bass.
They hold it down. Different vibe. Love that. Yeah. Also, would love to know, do you have any shout outs for today? Anyone tuning in or any like districts or locals you want to shout out? Let us know.
I would like to shout out the local Des Moines because it's my locale. So hello, everybody.
Yes, represent. Also, let's ask you, Brother Mark, if there are any instruments you could learn to play or get better at, what would it be?
I think definitely the harmonica. And I know, when people think of the harmonica, they think, oh, it's kind of like a kid's toy. It's not really a difficult instrument. It's partly because it's also really limited. But I think that's the reason why the harmonica is actually a really challenging instrument, because amazing harmonica players have to kind of break the way that the harmonica was designed to really get the full potential out of the instrument. And I've tried the harmonica. It is definitely a very difficult one. So if I could be an amazing harmonica player, that would be crazy. That'd be amazing. But it's really hard. And I'll try to pick it up again in the future someday, I think.
My friend, Sister Kemi from local Vista in San Diego County, she randomly picked up the harmonica during the pandemic, and it's like her party trick because you can carry it in your purse. Like you just pull it out and be like, what do I do? It's so funny. So thank you. Do you have any shout outs for today, Brother Mark?
Sure, yeah. I'd like to give a shout out to the local of Tacoma because, like Brother Lario said, that's my local. So I'll give him a shout out. I also want to give a shout out to the local of Federal Way because that was also one of my second homes when I was here in Washington the first time, and I do miss the brethren out in Federal Way. So if any of you are listening, miss you, po.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you both for joining today's show and being able to share your talents and letting us know a little bit more about yourself. I love being able to get to know the both of you. So everyone in the comments, let us know if you enjoyed today's discussion, and a shout out to both of them for joining today. So feel free to stay on. We'll do a little wave at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and read some of our last comments here, or continue to keep them going, but some of the discussion comments. And then we're going to go into our hashtag winners and our top brethren from last week's show. Sister Cora says, I used to play piano and guitar. Hashtag Marysville. Shanarelle says, hashtag Renton. But RJ says, I tried saxophone in middle school band, but didn't continue after one school semester. One of my few regrets, I didn't keep it up. Hashtag Spokane. Definitely. I feel like anytime I hear a saxophone, I'm like, that is one of like the craziest sounds. And like, when did someone learn how to play that? And I feel like it's usually in band, like in school. Sister Irene says, I would like to play she likes to play the guitar, but the guitar doesn't like her. I hope she was able to pick up some tips from today's show. And then Sister Ivy says, I wish I knew how to play the drums. When I was little, I wanted to play the drums so bad. So yeah, keep your comments going. We might have some time at the end to read them. I wanted to read last week's hashtag winners. In third place, we had Oak Harbor. In second place, we had Olympia. And in first place, we had the local congregation of Everett. So thank you so much, both, for continuing to tune in and comment. Keep it going down below because we also love to try our best to be one of the top districts and satellites in the world with how much participation we have in our show. So please keep it up, and we appreciate you all. We also have our top brethren who are commenting the most from last week's show. In third place from Oak Harbor, we have Crystalyn Torres. And second place from Kent, we have Annalyn Ednalino. And then in first place, we have Brother JC Sandre from the local congregation of Seattle. So thank you so much, Bo. Continue to keep up those comments. We love seeing you in there and letting us know how you like to participate in today's show. And if you are a top winner from today, we'll read you out loud in next week's show. So now we're going to go ahead and pass it off to Brother Andrew. Brother Andrew, what do you got going on over there?
Well, I'm so excited. Just so you know, Brother Andrew Santa Monica from the local of Seattle, and just saying hi to Brother Lario, Brother Mark, Sister Marie, and to all the viewers here I am excited about music, but I will also say I'm excited to share the activities going on in the District of Washington State. Let's not forget these activities. Previously, last Sunday on the 6th, the District of Washington State held their all officers meeting at 6 p.m. in the local of Seattle. I'm currently at the Seattle House of Worship, in case you're wondering. But let's talk about upcoming activities. Next Sunday, the CWS or the Children's Worship Service members, those who are ages 4 to 11, ages 4 to 12, they will have their jump fitness activity. This will be at next Sunday or the following Sunday on the 20th at 3 p.m. at Sky Zone. This will be at Tequila, Washington. As of now, the North region, they will meet in the local of Seattle, and the South region will meet in the local of Kent for their prayer. We'll have more info to share. Just reach out to your CWS chairperson for more information. And just so you know, for Seattle, for those listening in Seattle, just let me know. I am the CWS chairperson. But for the Kadiwa, those who are 18 over and not married, next Sunday or following Sunday, the Kadiwa will have their in-composed music arrangement 6 p.m. in the local of Shoreline. So please bring your instruments so you can arrange music of the Iglesianicristo, Church of Christ. And even if it will be challenging, we'll all have our brothers and sisters to work together, because we don't have sometimes we don't get to meet as often among other locales. So it'll be nice to have that going on for the Kadiwa. The local anniversaries of April are the following. Local of Covington will celebrate their 9th anniversary as a locale on the 17th. The local of Shoreline will celebrate their 19th anniversary on the 21st. And the local of Seattle will celebrate their 53rd anniversary on the 24th. Amazing. We want to definitely celebrate all of the locales, especially those 3 local congregations for this month. What a great milestone. And in other news, the TSV or Technical Support for Video Streaming have their TSV Talk-In Workshop tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the local of Tacoma. I'll announce the weather for Seattle. Right now it's 51 degrees Fahrenheit. It is getting a lot warmer since I reported or brought up the announcements. Right now throughout the week it will be in the late 50s. The highest of this coming week will be 67 degrees Fahrenheit on Friday. So please, you can start dressing a little lighter, but be aware that there might be some scattered showers sometimes. That's all for today. Back to you, Sister Marie.
Thank you so much, Brother Andrew. We have so many activities coming up, so we hope to see you all there. And if you see us, any of the brethren on today's show, make sure to say hello, because we'd love to say hello to all your beautiful faces. Sadly, our time is coming to a close here on today's broadcast, but don't worry, you can always rewatch this show back, and you can always share this link to all of your friends who you think might benefit from today's show. And if not, go ahead and watch our show next week. So we'll be here every Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Before we close, we do have our thank yous. So special thank yous to Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our Executive Minister, Brother Angelo Manalo, our SEPSI President and CFO Coordinator, Brother Ramil Regino, our District Minister, Brother Relly Rivera, our Assistant District Minister, Brother Chris Valdez, our CFO Overseer, Brother Manly Andaya, our Executive Producer, and everyone tuning in and all of our INC Radio Tech crew here in the District of Washington State and there abroad in the Philippines. We thank you so much for tuning into today's show, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of